World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Happy Monday, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be in this space, and welcome to the Bold Show with me, your host, Marie Dunn. It's always such a humbling experience when I get to come here and share, highlight the stories, the journeys, the resilience, the strength of others who, at some point in their life, felt as if it was just too much. It was just overwhelming, but they never gave up. They kept believing in themselves. They kept pushing. They were resilient. They were determined, and nothing was going to get in that way, because I like to say the God that I serve, he's mischievous and he's mysterious. And many of times, he's intercepting and he's redirecting us. But we have to be able to listen to what it is that he's saying to us. And also, I should acknowledge today, June 27th, celebrates post-traumatic stress disorder. It's post-traumatic stress disorder awareness month. Day, actually, this is the day we're celebrating it. But like I love to say, it's not just one day. It's an ongoing conversation. Our internal pains, we can't see it. The naked eyes cannot see it, as opposed to when we have like a physical ailment. So it's so important for us to check in with ourselves and get the help that we need. And I'm going to leave this number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's 24 hours. It's 1-800-273-8255. But without further ado, I am going to introduce today's guest, Onzie Barnes. He goes by Onzie B. He is a graduate from Norfolk State University. He has a bachelor's degree in music. He is a music producer. He is a songwriter, and he's also the CEO of Walking on Air LLC. And I totally forgot. Today's topic is walking on air, and you'll find out in a few with our conversation. So stay tuned, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome Onzie B. Onzie, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, by the way. Like that sounded so cool. Like, thank you so much for that.
That's perfectly fine. And like I said, I'm truly humbled and honored to have you in this space. So I know I gave the textbook version of who you are. Why don't you tell the viewers who you actually are so we could get a better sense?
Awesome. Yeah. So hello, everyone. My name is Onzie B. I'm originally from Hampton, Virginia, by way of Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm a songwriter, producer. based out of VA. And yeah, I've been writing and doing music now for about a good 14 years now. Um, I grew up loving all kinds of music. My parents would play all kind of music from the '70s, R&B, to disco, to '80s pop, and I just fell in love with it all. Um, and then, when I was about 9 years old, that's when I got my first keyboard. My mom got me this like little Yamaha like 61 keyboard, and I was just like was so geeked over like finally having a keyboard to play, right? Um, and so from there, I started taking piano lessons. And I started taking piano lessons around 9 years old. And then from there, I just fell in love with beats, like just hearing beats, learning how they feel, loving the bass driven kind of like hip hop beats, R&B beats, and yeah, I just started just trying to create beats on my own like, since I was 9 years old. And then from there, I fell in love with like the whole production side of it because of my love for hip hop. I grew up on hip hop, love it, and R&B as well. I started like listening to producers like Swiss Beats and Timbaland and Neptunes, and I just had like a thirst for like wanting to learn as much as I can about how beats are created, how songs get created, and the whole process and what that looks like. So yeah, and then from there, as Miss Dunn mentioned, I graduated from Norfolk State, 2010, Behold the Green and Gold. Yeah. Graduated from there in music education with a major in piano and also a music media major as well. So that the media side was the whole gist of like the recording studio and videography as well. So also got a degree in that as well. Yeah, and from there, my story is just always evolving, always continuing on, and that's what I love about being a musician the most. And especially getting to help the younger generation coming up, again to help them and give them tips and advice on how to navigate through the industry as well. So.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was beautiful and so inspiring. But you said something that was so profound when I was listening to you. Shout out to Pops. Happy belated Father's Day. Because your dad, your parents all together played such an integral role in who you are today. Because at 9 years old, you got your first keyboard. You were enrolled in piano lessons. So I guess without you even knowing, they were preparing you for who you are today. So I want to say thank you so much to your parents for all that they did for you and will continue to do. And I hone in on that because I think it's so important for us to nurture the souls, nurture the creative in our children, um, so that they could come out later on. Because you're such an expert, just like reading up about you, talking to you about music, I realized that you're so grounded. You are just so confident in who you are as a musician, right? As an entrepreneur, because you're doing this all by yourself, but you're going through it, right? But I think for me, what I want to ask you as well, outside of getting that background, is you were open to the process of learning. That's important. I'm going to repeat that. You were open to the process, so you received what it is the universe was giving to you. All right.
Absolutely.
So, and you talked about, educating and inspiring our youths of today. Um, so for anyone who's out there listening, right, and their parents may not be as supportive as your parents, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them not to give up on what sets their soul on fire?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say, well, first I would just let me just go back a little bit, just to give
That's
you the
fine.
gist, like how that majoring in music came about. So, it was the year 2004. I was a senior in high school, and it was around that time to where you start, okay, considering, okay, am I going to college? And if I do go to college, what college am I going to? Right. So, by then I was receiving like letters of acceptance, and then, many like rejection letters from the schools that I applied to, before I, decided to go to Norfolk State. And it was pretty much a toss up because I know by June 2004, my parents had said, if you don't, find a school to go to, as far as like college, you can either go to college or you can go in the Air Force. So that was a choice that I had, that my parents pretty much gave me. And so, thinking about it, I was like, okay, well, let me just decide on like a school that I think is going to be best for me. And for me, that was Norfolk State University. Um, and the reason I chose that school was because, doing like the background research on it, because I love doing research on like, especially places like, and especially school, like college, because it's important to know what you're getting into, before you get there. So, doing the research on Norfolk State, I found that the music program was one of the best like in the state and the country. And honestly, I didn't know that, going into the situation. So I'm like, wow, like this is like cool to learn. Like, so if I'm majoring in music, this would be like a good school for me to go to, right? So I talked to my parents about it. My parents were on board, with me majoring in music. They said, look, if this is what's going to make you happy, and what's going to, create, the outcomes that you want for yourself in your life, then yeah, go for it. So, yeah, I registered for Norfolk State, got accepted, and, started attending there, the music program. And, I got involved with the concert choir. So I was, in the choir. I was a bass and baritone, I would say, a little bit of both. But that's where I met like a lot of great people in the choir, to this day, that we're still like so tight and connected, as far as friendships, like to this day. But yeah, my parents saw that. Once they saw that, how much I enjoyed music from the time I was taking piano lessons to the time I was about to go to college, they already knew and already, you know, could understand that this would be something that would be great for me to like embark on. Right? So, and then the funny thing is, like, well, not funny thing, but the serious thing is that, music majors, they usually take longer to get their bachelor's. So it's not like a, typical, okay, 4-year degree and then you're out. No. Music majors, we tend to take longer to get our degrees because there's more of a demand of coursework that needed to be completed. Um, so for me, it took me like an extra 2 years to get my bachelor's. So, and a lot of people don't know that. So that's like a new, revealed secret. But yeah, it took me 6 years. It took me 6 years to get my bachelor's, and
It's okay.
yeah,
You got it done. Doesn't
right,
matter.
right, exactly. And like that made me so proud. It's because like I worked so hard to get that bachelor's degree. Like, but that degree, to me, getting that degree afforded me the opportunity to see what that degree really meant to me. And the reason I say that is because for music majors, one thing that I noticed is that there's so much to be expanded on with that one degree. Meaning there's not one thing that you can do with that degree. Because being a music major, I learned about music engineering. I learned about being a videographer. I learned about the business side of it. And what that looks like, how to navigate the industry business wise. Because a lot of people get caught in the may get tripped up in dealing with the business side of it because there's a focus on the creative side. So
Exactly.
I got a piece of that, and also how to build my own studio, how to get my own clientele to come to my studio, and so forth. So just learning all those tools, it's like that degree taught me that I can go through many avenues to create income for myself off of my music. But not only that, but to share and teach others along the way as well. So yeah, that degree from Norfolk State really means a lot to me to this day. I think about it all the time. The fact that I went through and actually made it happen for myself. And there was some tough terrain ahead, during that time. It wasn't all like smooth sailing, like
Absolutely.
it was times where I wanted to quit and say, I don't want to do this no more. I wanted to do something else and change my major. I considered all that. Um, but through it all, I just had some great professors too. Um, wonderful professors that worked with me, pushed me, gave me tough love when I needed it. And yeah, I made it through, made it happen, got my degree. And yeah, so I would say to anybody that, whose parents may be kind of hesitant on them, pursuing their degree of choice or what they want to do, I would just, have that conversation with them and just let them know that of how much it would mean to you to want to pursue, your passion and what you believe will make you happy down the road. Because we can have, any career out here. We can go for any career. We can study any discipline. But if we're not happy at the end of the day, then, what does it mean, right? So, so yeah, I would say definitely for that young person to sit down with their parents and just have that conversation with them, and and hopefully your outcomes will be what you want it to be, and you'll have that support in place um, for you to pursue your goals. So.
When you were talking, you said so much that resonated with me. Um, but one of the highlights, a few highlights I'm going to pull together, when you talked about working hard, it's about that sacrifice. And you also shared that it took you longer to get your degree. I think we live in a society where there is so much pressure that's placed on us to achieve, so much time frame, like societal standards that says you got to do this. Like, so you get your bachelor's degree, the expectation is that you have to get it done within 4 years, right? But for me, I believe in trusting your process. Your path is going to look a lot different from everybody else. Um, I always like to bring God into this, and just my disclaimer, this is just me because I'm a spiritual person and He's shown up for me in so many occasions. But I just wanted to highlight that there's so many of us in this world. Can't begin to tell you how much, and so much that has transitioned, and we all don't have the same fingerprint. That speaks volumes. And I share that because I want folks to understand you are unique. It does not matter how long it takes you to get to the end of the road. That's okay. That is your journey. That's your process. I can't take Onzie's process and say, you know what? No, my music is not, even if I was a musician, my music is not going to sound like Onzie's. Even if Onzie was the one who was my mentor, it's going to be different. The point and the moral of this story, embrace who you are, your uniqueness. That is what makes you special. And it goes back to self-awareness. If you can't embrace who you are, you don't understand, I think then you're at a disadvantage. So, congratulations, we're taking 6 years to get your bachelor's. Doesn't matter. You did it anyway. And you also shared that what you're doing makes you happy. If every single day you're going to get up and you're going to be doing something, and at the end of the day, you are miserable and you're struggling to even get to that point, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Let it go.
Right.
Let it go. Which leads me to my next question. Do you think that you're walking in your purpose?
I would have to say I do believe that. And the reason I said it like that is because years ago, that's one of the things that I was kind of like teetering on, like whether I was going in the direction that was going to be, my purpose, you know. But right now, on this day, I could say right now that I am finally like able to walk in my purpose finally. And it because and like honestly, like thinking about it now is like it took me so much time and building so many relationships along the way to get to this point. And I'll share with you one example too. Prior to me being involved with TV and film, um, I was, working with certain A&Rs, at various record labels. So I would shop, a lot of my music off to these A&Rs to get placed with artists. And doing that, I would shop off maybe in my like height of like sending music off to A&Rs, executives. I would say at the height of that, I was sending around 400 emails a day to these A&Rs, trying to get them to, listen to my music and to show them what I got, if they were interested in picking it up for the artists that they were working with. But I was constantly sending out these emails, and I would get like 80% of them would be nothing but rejections. And then, I would say, wow, these like a lot of rejections in 1 week. I would get like maybe 200 rejections. And it's like in a week, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like at first that kind of threw me like for a loop, but then it was so weird how like I was able to like finally like sit down with myself and just like think like, okay, if all these people are saying no, you're going to find somebody eventually that's going to say yes, right? So, and that's what kept me like plugging away every day, sending my music off to these A&R executives, like taking them to hear my music. And within the midst of doing that, I was able to build like many relationships with A&Rs, like to this day, and which I'm extremely grateful for, because A&Rs, they don't have to listen to your music at all. You can send them like, the greatest track you think is like, the greatest record that you have in the world, and it's like they don't have to listen to it if they don't want to. So the fact that they took the time to listen to what I had speaks volumes about them. And, we were able to build on that relationship, even though, most of them I didn't get placed with, I still was able to make that connection and build that relationship, which to me is more valuable, than anything, and that's what taught me that, this industry and even throughout life, like it's all about the relationships that you build with people. Like your relationships matter. Like it's what drives the economy, and what drives us each day is like who you meet, who do you know, who knows you, how good is that relationship, what's it based on? Is it based on loyalty? And for me, that also taught me the meaning of loyalty and what that really looks like, because people think that the industry is so big, but it really isn't. Like you'd be surprised on who knows so and so's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, well so and so is really for real, like so yeah, it's like it's just one of those things. It's like it's not as big as people think it is, and it's like who you build those relationships with, they matter, they really do. But yeah, getting all those rejections, all those no's. I eventually got some yeses, and one of my yeses was from the very first licensing company that I signed with. They're based out of the UK. So with them, I was able to place my songs with brands like Burger King, Pizza Hut, Wagamama's, and yeah, that made me so excited because it was like my very first placement, but my very first placement on my own too. Because this was when I, was just working solely by myself. So I was extremely happy to where like, wow, I did this by myself. Like I didn't have any help from any, a manager or, publisher at that time. It was just me. So, which is really awesome. But yeah, that taught me just to keep going, like, because all those rejections, they're going to lead to a yes, and many yeses after that, just as long as you keep going. And that was my theme for that moment. And even now throughout my life is, it's taught me and it showed me that if you just keep going and don't stop, you're going to get to where you want to get to, as long as you keep going. So yeah, nowadays I'm like, look, bring on all the rejections that you got, like give them all to me. Like I'll take them all. Right. Because I know that there's a yes in there somewhere that's going to happen. So.
That's like music to my ears, and I'm so grateful that you shared that even before I got to it. 400, at least 400 emails you're sending on a daily basis. I love to say people see the Onzie with his music on various platforms, and you're basking in your glory right now, but still working hard. But now it's less stressful because you understand your craft, right?
Absolutely.
But a lot of times we sit on the sidelines without knowing, without understanding and we make our own conjectures about what is and our perspectives. But I want everyone here who's going to be listening and viewing later to understand this young man, 14 years he's been in this business, and he shared that at one point he was sending out at least 400 emails on a daily basis. You know how time consuming that is,
Absolutely.
but you understood what it took. Sacrifices is so necessary. There is no comfort. Comfort and success does not coexist. It's two separate things. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable, if you're not willing to take the necessary steps, for me, it's like building a house. I like to use that analogy, right? You're going to build a house. You have to have a blueprint. You got to dig the foundation. You got to work your way up. If you don't do all of that, you can't have a house, right? So, especially for our youths, with this instant gratification, we want this now. We're not waiting. We want it right now. And there's that sense of entitlement as well. But you gotta creep before you can walk. You gotta be humble. And I love to use this word so much, I probably overuse it, this phrase. You gotta trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to give it time. If you're not gonna be patient, if you're not patient, persistent, and determined, it's not gonna happen. You might as well just say, just give it up. But it's all possible. And it goes back to walking on air. Talk to me about that. Folks need to hear about that. Give us the mission behind the name of your brand.
Yeah, so the whole idea between walking on air, this was back, I would say in 2019 it was, is when I first got the idea to start my own label. And that came about, this was of course during, before the pandemic actually happened, because, this was like back in August of 2019. So I thought to myself, it would be pretty cool, I believe, if I was to start my own label. So I'm like, okay, how would I go about doing that, right? What's the process with that? So I started going on Google, researching, okay, how to start an LLC, and I found some good information. And I got hooked up with the agent that was going to help me, bring about, building it and creating it. So I'm like, great. So went through the process, paid the fees to obtain the LLC and everything. And they sent me like the nice little certificate stating that congratulations, you now own Walking on Air LLC. So I'm like geeking out. I'm like, okay, this is cool. So yeah, started geeking out a little bit over that because I was like really excited that I could finally like release, songs under my own umbrella, right? And which is always a good thing. And I advise anybody that's independent to do that, and it's wild because a friend of mine, she had started her LLC a few years prior, and she's telling me all the great things that's been happening with her LLC. And so she, consulted me, with it as well, on how to go about it. But yeah, I started Walking on Air LLC. And the reason why I chose the name Walking on Air was because I figured that, we all heard the term before, the sky's the limit, right? But thinking about that term, I thought about one night, I'm like, if the sky's the limit, we would probably be walking on air, And the reason I say that is because, the sky's the limit for anyone that wants to achieve anything that they're going after in life. But if you're constantly working and you have the discipline, the ethic, the whole gist of like working hard every day to achieve your goals, then you're going to be stuck in the sky. So pretty much you have no choice but to walk on air at that point. So I'm like, wow, that's like really dope. So let me just go with that and go with that name. And like that resonates with me even to this day because as hard as I work every day, I always make sure that I don't um, complete my day without knowing that I walked on air. I stayed in the mix of getting things done. I stayed in the rhythm and pace of, making new songs. I stayed on pace with meeting um, new contacts, at new publishing companies. I always try to stay in the mix each day and get the work done that I need to get done. So that's why I'm always always in the air, always walking on air. My feet never touch the ground because I'm always working. So that was like the whole the whole idea behind that name. And yeah, to this day, like that just stuck with me and it stays with me every day. Um, so yeah, just as long as you're working every day, like just stay in the sky, just stay in the air. Like you'll be good, like just keep working. So that was like the whole gist behind that name. So
I love the way you think. The way you think. And like I love to tell folks, the word impossible says possible. Um, Anything that you want in life, and I'm serious about this, anything that you want in life, you could achieve it. But you got to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to get you there? A lot of times, folks, they get disgruntled about change and they don't want to change. Change is easy. It's the process that makes it difficult. It's the process that makes us uncomfortable. So we stay away from that. But look at your story. Look at your glory. When you talk about what it is that you do, your music, your accomplishments, there's this light, this glow around you, this aura. I don't know if anyone has ever shared that with you. You really light up. How do you remain humble?
oh wow, that's a good question.
Yes.
Honestly, for me, when I think of the word humble, I just think of like somebody who's always appreciative, somebody who's, who who lends a helping hand, even though the person's looking in return, and like that's pretty much my vibe, like every day. Like that's just like who I am, and like when I say that, it's like I say that to say that regardless of whether I'm in like the grocery store, whether I'm in like like a club or whatever, like I'm always the same person. Like I'm always down to earth. I'm always like, I'm kind of like quiet a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, and it's like, I don't know, music really made me who I am. Like, even like with my personality, like I'm just so chill, like just one of those chill people that, pretty much gets along with, with anybody. So like to me, humble is just like so broad when it comes to like, me. Like I'm always so appreciative of every opportunity that I get. Um, whether they say, yeah, celebrate your wins. And that's something that I gotta admit that I'm working on more, celebrating my wins, because I'm the kind of person that I can get like a call, like an email saying, oh yeah, you got a placement with, this company or this show. I'm like, okay, cool, that's what's up. And then, it's like, that's it. And then I go cook like, dinner or something, so it's like for me, it's like, I really want to start celebrating my wins, like more, you know, and then, like when I do get that phone call, that email saying that you got a placement or your song get picked up by this network, and it's like, I call my mom and dad, tell them, they're all excited for me. And, my brother, my nieces and nephews, they're excited. Um, yeah. And it's like, for me, it's like, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I definitely want to celebrate my wins more. So yeah, and I think that's just part of me being humble, I guess. Like I don't know, humble is just like it's me, It's just it just shines within me, and hopefully I shine, give some of my shine to others that may need it, because I'm always down to help, especially the producers and writers and singers that are coming up. Like I'm always there to help, especially on like for IG, for example. Like people hit me up all the time saying, "Oh yeah, how'd you, navigate going about getting this placement?" And I tell them, "Look, this is what you do. LinkedIn and and then just go through the process. Like, and I don't charge them, anything. Like, because I strongly believe that, part of the reason why we're on this earth is to pass along information, to the next, right? Like to the next like generation, like, because money's tangible, like, things, cars, houses, like all that's, to me it's just stuff, like, and I've never been, big on money anyway. Like you can ask anybody, like I really don't really like have a lot of money is not why I do this. Like, I do this, music because I genuinely love to do music. Like, and that's my life. That's who I am. Like, so yeah, I'm not big on money, and I'm willing to help anybody that's willing to learn about music, the business, and all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely carry that with me every day.
Awesome. You're truly blessed and highly favored. I like to listen to inspirational quotes and music and the likes of Tyler Perry, um, and all those people. And I remember something that stood out from Tyler Perry. And we all know Tyler Perry's story. Well, you know, he
Mhm.
started off on nothing,
Yeah.
working on Con Edison. And his mom is always telling him, no, you need to go, when he was trying to save this money. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually going to do this. His mom was not as supportive as your parents, right? But he decided he's going to do it anyway because this is his passion. He liked it. And of course, like, you're creative and you are putting on your first show, you're like, yeah, it's going to be sold out. I got this, right? You've probably been on that receiving end. I've been there. And only to find out, no, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And of course, he was a bit dismayed, but he never gave up. He kept pushing. He did it again. And someone said to him, like they were like really talking about how his movies, how it made them feel. And it's that feeling, that was the defining moment for him. And he said, it's not about the money. It's about how you make people feel. I believe we're on this earth to be of service to others. You talked about practicing gratitude. That is so important and so profound. Oftentimes we miss that. Again, it goes back to self identity, self awareness, and understanding your purpose, understanding your why. I don't care what psychologist you are, whoever you are, I think it's that simple. If you don't understand your why, because your why is your foundation,
Absolutely.
it grounds you. I can share for myself in moments when I feel as if I'm not getting where I need to get to. And those no's and people who promise me they'll do this and just never follow through. The adult, grown, matured me, I learned to accept that. When you tell me no, it's okay. That doesn't mean no, it's mean later. So I've gotten into the point where I create opportunities for myself. I create those seats at those tables that was not once open to me because I was tired of people telling me no. I was tired of people not showing up. And I found something on your Instagram and it says, I don't trust words, I trust vibes. People can tell you anything, but a vibe tells you everything. Drops the mic. I think that was just so profound.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of my favorite quotes too.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and it's like, and it's good that you mentioned the vibe as well because I'm very good on like keeping like the vibe that I have like for everyone that I meet. And you're right because vibes do tell more of a person's story than the actual words that you know this person is telling you. Like when I first meet somebody, I'm like, already scoping out your vibe, check, just getting a sense and feel of who you are as a person. And, hopefully, both of our vibes can click, to, for us to like to build upon, a relationship. So definitely agree. Vibes all day. Like, I'm all about vibes. And it's always, hopefully, the people that you meet along the way, can vibe with you, whether they're getting to know who you are and what you do, and vice versa. And yeah, and like honestly, like that's how good times are formed, like the best, like from those vibes, those mutual understandings of, who this person is and who the person is that you're meeting, like, or the people that you're meeting, right? Or the people you're working with, or what have you. So yeah, definitely, vibes are extremely key. And also, dealing with the industry, you find that you vibe more with people that are like-minded, but they're also respectful if they're not like-minded, like, with you. And I give you an example too. Like, this was back when I was engineering at Daddy's House Recording Studio. Me and a friend of mine got invited up there to for some sessions with the late Heavy D for his last album. So we went up there. It was like the second day we were there. It's like a long corridor that you had to walk down to get to the studio. So there was a guy waiting there with us to get in the studio, and he told me his name and everything. I'm like, yeah, man, good to meet you. Like, we just got here yesterday and all this good stuff. And he came off kind of like, I guess, like cocky in a way, I would say. Like, but it was like kind of like one of those unnecessary cocky moments. But anyway, like talking to him, he seemed like a nice guy, but he seemed like he had something to prove. So I'm like, okay, man, it's cool, it's all good, like. But yeah, that just showed me that some people have good vibes, good intentions, and others are yeah. I mean, like, so it can vary, and that's what anybody you meet along the way in life. You meet people with good vibes and people that show you that maybe your vibe isn't the best for them and they're not the best for you, and that's okay because we evolve each day. We're always evolving. We're always learning, and we're always like discovering new things about ourselves. So, I mean, for me, it's all about a journey. I love this journey. Like, just the yeah, like, it's just the journey.
But that's great. You gotta love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that enough. And it took you a while to get to this space that you're in, this positive space that you're in, this space where you're owning this now, right?
Mm.
It took you a while to get there, and I think that's something that I want to stress to folks as well. That show up as your authentic self. When you can be your authentic self, when you could be, and for me, authentic, it's just like taking the mask off. I like to say we've been wearing masks pre-COVID, and it's a protective factor. And it's also a deceptive factor as well that we could get into. But put the mask away. Show up as who you are. Stop worrying about how Onzie is gonna perceive you, how Mr. McCoy is gonna perceive you, how the world around you is gonna perceive you. But get to a place where you could almost be naked and you're okay with that. Because when you could show up as yourself, your true self, nothing can stop you.
Right.
Because I think, like, even prior, before I got to this place where I'm such like a confident woman and you can't tell me anything, I used to be such a people pleaser. And I would go out of my way to make sure that whatever Onzie wants, I'm going to do it. But you know something? It took so much out of me. It was so distracting. It was so overwhelming because we got so much people that we want to prove to. Like, when you have a point to prove, takes you out of your element. For me, I think it's a distraction. You can't stay focused. So it does not matter. And folks, I want you to understand not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody is going to understand who you are. And that too is so okay. Because once, I think the only person that you, well, two persons, you got to prove to yourself and to God above, whomever is your higher power that you look to. But outside of that, everyone's opinion, to me, I believe, it's irrelevant. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with the consequences of your actions.
Absolutely.
You have to deal with everything. When we end the show tonight, I'm going to turn my Zoom off, my StreamYard off. I'm going to go about my business. Of course, I'll reflect on the conversation that we had because it's so soulful, right? But the point I'm trying to make, you probably will forget about me the moment you get off this screen and everything I have to think about you. So we spend so much time thinking about, oh my God, am I doing this right? Is it going to be okay? Will I fit in? Will this person accept me? You're wasting precious, valuable time. Time is one of the most richest commodity that we could ever think about. You can never get it back. This hour, I can't rewind and say, you know what? Oh my God, I should not have said that. This is not. No, I can't. It's past. It's gone. So live each moment with a sense of urgency, like it's your last, because you're not sure of the next second. And not to take away from your conversation, treat people with respect and kind. The more we give, the more we receive. It's so many gems you've dropped here tonight. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm really hoping that we could inspire and we've impacted at least one person. I ain't not big on numbers. It will come. I just believe in showing up in spaces as who I am.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't need validation from anybody. It takes too much of my time. It's not worth it. But Onzie, talk to me about your creative process. And where do you find your inspiration when you have like a deadline and you're crunched for time? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so yeah, my creative process can vary at times, but most of the time, I would say about 80% of the time, my creative process just involves me just being here in my apartment. I may receive an email from one of the producers that I'm working with saying, hey, I got this beat, what you check out? I check out like their beats. And if I vibe to any of their beats, I just somebody email back saying, hey, I like so-and-so beat, these two beats, I'm gonna work on this week. And so like I set aside some time throughout the week, mostly from Wednesday on, I set aside time to record my songs. So either I, set up studio time with a friend of mine out in Queens. He has a studio. It's really nice out there in Queens, or I, record here at my home studio that I made here. And like the best part about having a home studio, and I would tell this to anybody, is like you have like the freedom and comfort of being, wearing whatever you want to wear, being how you want to be, because you're at home, so it's really comfortable. So and this is where I pretty much do most of my production work and writing and stuff. So I set aside time throughout the week leading up to the weekend. The weekend is when I really get in there and either I correct vocals that I did earlier in the week, or I just record like a whole new song during the weekend. But my creative process, I get a song, for me, writing a song to it being recorded, to it being mixed and mastered, it's about a week time span. So it would take me like a whole week to complete, one song, like from start to finish. And so I get a beat sent to me or get lyrics sent to me from that time to when it's being mastered. It's about a week time span, which isn't too bad. Because I would say that, especially for the independent artists, I would say that the best thing that any independent artist, whether you're a songwriter, producer, recording engineer, the best thing you can do is to learn the technical aspects of music production for yourself. Because, and this is a scenario that I like tell people all the time, especially when they hit me up on IG with questions. I'm like, look, you can either A, learn all the technical stuff yourself, or B, you can hire a mix engineer to mix your song, which is going to be at least $300 and up per song. You can hire somebody to master, which could be another 300 and up, you know, per song. They have websites now to where you can like send your beat to like a songwriter that say, that's based in LA for example. You can send them your song and they can write to it, record it, but that's the fee, right? That's like $300 and up. So you're paying all this money, but so by end of it, you already spent over $1,000 on one song, right? So, and like the independent artist that this person is and that I am, it's like I'm like, no, I'm not spending like $1,000 per song because you know how much money that is, like over a year. Like that's like that's a lot. So what I did was, since throughout time I just learned how to do everything myself to the point where I'm able to not have to spend money on studio time unless I want to, but nowadays I have that choice, so, and I'm still delivering quality, to the masses and to these companies that that I'm currently working with. So like my process, yeah, it takes about a week to complete one song from start to finish, but I'm constantly writing every single day. So, and the voice recorder in my phone is a great tool. Like for any songwriters that don't do that yet, or or have yet to do that, please utilize your voice recorder. It's a gold, because I can be out walking like to the store somewhere, and I get like this idea for a song, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta record this before I forget it, right? I gotta record it before I forget it. So I'm like, okay, let me just say the voice recorder, record this melody, and then I have it, so later on when I write, or the next day when I start writing, I have that melody down. So, and I just go forth from there. So yeah, and I love being like in a good space when I write or when I'm producing. Like that's important to me. Like usually I have like a TV on my IG, during the midst of it, like scrolling through or like hitting up somebody like on DM or whatever. But I'm still like, in the process of either making a beat or writing a song. So yeah, like I love my process. Like it's kind of like not your everyday process, but it's like I don't know. It's been working for me for like a while. So yeah, I think I want to keep this like same, the same process going for future songs that I write. So yeah, and like just like you said earlier too, Miss Dunn, you had mentioned about trusting the process. Like I had to start trusting, the process that I made for myself when writing music to know that it's going to work, because I've been through many other processes to where it didn't work, and I'm like, okay, let me go back and correct and see what I did wrong so I can correct it and make it usable for myself. So definitely kudos for mentioning trusting the process, because that's very important, especially when you're creating. Definitely. So.
And it goes back to our original point about, we talked about how we're all unique. Your process may sound crazy to the next person, like, how can you do that? But it works for you. It's not going to work for me, but it works for you. And again, that's all that really matters. Like in everything that we're doing, we have to find what works for us.
Right.
Get the information and then tailor it to how it applies to you and
Right.
what makes the most sense. So my question for you, if you were not doing music, what would you be doing? If you wake up tomorrow, you can't do music, what happens?
I mean, first I'd be heartbroken first. Like, if I wasn't doing music, oh my goodness. Honestly, I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't doing music. Honestly, I couldn't imagine being anybody else but me. And that's something that I've questioned in the past too. if you're not who you are, then who are you? You know, we're all put on this earth because we're different. Nobody's the same. So, and to me, that's like the most special thing about being here on earth, and just getting a chance to see every day, because tomorrow isn't promised. To anyone. Um, and that's why it's so key, and I just hold dear to my heart the fact that you have to work hard every single day, because you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So
Say that again.
you got to work hard every day, every single day. So, yeah, that's just something that I think about often too, especially nowadays, because now we don't know. Like, we're living in times to where it's kind of weird right now. Like, what's going on, like, as far as like in the world, not just here, like, but everywhere. So it's like you just don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So you have to stay focused and stay grounded, and always focus on your why. Why are you doing this every day? Like, what are the goals that you want to reach, like, within this? And you have to just stay constantly focused on what you want in life. And just as long as you do that, then there's no reason to be down, because for the fact that you woke up this morning is all the verification that you need to keep going. So, like, you're here, you're alive, you're breathing now. Go work.
And I'm sitting here listening to you, and Steve Harvey is another one of my guys I like to listen to.
Yeah.
And I'm just reflecting, and when he talked about he was homeless for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's homeless for 3 years. And he talked about, like, he really told God what he wanted, how he wanted it, the people he wanted to be in the process. But sometimes God is not going to give us what we think we want or need. He's going to give us what we need.
Right.
Because that process, he's preparing us for when we get to the end of that journey, we could be like, oh man, so this is what this was about. Because I believe it's all teachable moments. And I'll repeat that. It's teachable moments. So if we stop for a second and stop worrying about, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me, and I'm going to give up. We all need to fall. And like I love to tell people, I have no problem falling now, because I know how to get up. I know how to get up. Because if you're driving down the street and there's a detour, what are you going to do? Say, oh, no way, I'm not going. I'm staying right here, and I have to pass because this is how I'm focused, and this is my journey I have to take. No. I'm sure we go around and we follow the detour. So I think it's the same concept that we should try to apply in our lives. Like, when these things happen, when we have setbacks, it's preparing us for our ultimate comeback. Onzie, give us some final words before we close.
Yeah, so I just want to say that this has been like an amazing opportunity to share with you all. And I'm just so grateful that, to be a part of this, and just to, keep that conversation moving, is to, seeing our people and individuals in our lives achieve the goals that they want to achieve in life. And it just makes me happy, and it just fills me up with gratitude that I'm able to share my story and hopefully inspire someone else to go after what they want in life, because we only get one life. Like, we're here, we're in it, like, this is it, like, we have to do what we can to make things happen. And for anyone that's like heard the conversation today, hopefully, you get inspired, or just like one spark, takes place within you to get the ball rolling on what you want in this life. Always grateful for you, Miss Dunn. Thank you so much for sharing your words of encouragement and your insight, and you like because your energy is definitely felt through the screen, like, so definitely feeling your energy, and deeply grateful for the Soul City Network, and you all, and yeah, just keep striving for what you believe in. Keep going, no matter what. There will be days where you want to give up. Just don't ever give up. Don't give up. Life's too short to give up. So keep going, keep moving, and you will be headed in the right direction. As long as you keep working, you can't lose.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to have you in this space and for you to share your greatness and your passion. And it's so rejuvenating. And thank you so much. And to all the viewers out there, I want to say thank you as well. It's always a pleasure. And just remember, you're awesome. You got this. You have one life to live. Make it worth your time. Have an amazing rest of the night and a wonderful week on purpose. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.